I need a little bit more dose of nasty. I'm seeing a little bit of unconfident, a little hesitation. It's not supposed to be easy. Every round gets tougher. Penetrate hard. Good passes. Shoot with confidence. I want some nasty.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Sports 2L. Welcome back to our page. Got another video for you today. We're looking at the NBA Finals a little bit. I just wanted to mention briefly that I think my pick of OKC 4, Pacers 2 is still alive. Right now it's 1-1. I think the Pacers will get one more game off of OKC. We shall see. It's been a decently exciting finals. The first game was amazing. The second game was a blowout and not that fun to watch. But I've got an interesting topic on the Spurs, specifically Victor Wembanyama, that I want to talk about. Their phenom, young French center, 7'4" center, who is in China studying as a monk. That's right. Victor Wembanyama, as he is now being called, is, on retreat. They say he's on vacation, but I don't know if it's much of a vacation if you're training as a monk. He's got the shaved head. He looks kind of like the opposite of Buddha, just long and incredibly lean, but he looks good. He looks healthy. But I think this is a bad thing for the Spurs and actually a bad sign for Wembanyama. So let's talk about some of the reasons why I think that, starting with number one reason basketball players should not be monks. This pains me because you want people to be on their own spiritual journey and feel enlightened and, be kind to other people. Everyone's looking for that. But it does not relate well to basketball. I think there is a part of the game that you have to be kind of a jerk. You have to be a bit of a bully. You have to be willing to elbow somebody harder than they're willing to elbow you. I think these are the things that a lot of people struggle with in basketball. And I think Wemby might be one of them. I mean, not that you don't want to practice mindfulness and let things roll off your shoulder, but the best basketball players are kind of a-holes. I mean, Kobe, MJ, you look at the best ones, Bird, Magic, kind of cocky and showman, and teammates, yes, they liked playing with them. Same with LeBron, of course, because he passes the ball, but they didn't always get along with teammates and coaches, and they're a bit of divas, and they get their own way. And to be a top 20 player in the league, you kind of have to do that. So Wemby, the monk stuff is great, but I'm calling it now. At some point next year, Kendrick Perkins is going to be on ESPN saying, Wemby's got to stop with that monk stuff. He's got to stop with the passive stuff, because the pressure is going to amplify on the Spurs to make the playoffs, especially, with Wemby as their best player, and I do not see it, especially for next year. I think the West is too loaded. Maybe the Spurs make a trade. I know they have the number 2 pick right now, but even with that, I don't see them making the playoffs, and I see, obviously, Victor is not going to get criticized because he's still so young and still so amazing to watch, but I think it will start to come if they don't at least get in the playoffs and give him a taste of that. So that's kind of number one, is you've got to be a little bit of a jerk to be a top basketball player. You've got to want to take things from other people. You can't be so passive. You cannot constantly be Wembanyama and be monk-like, as much as it might be good for your mental health. If you're a top athlete, you kind of got to be selfish. You kind of got to be hard-nosed and fight for every inch and kind of annoy people. So if Victor thinks that people are just going to let him play a skill game, I don't think it's happening. There are plenty of guys that will try to bully him because that's their chance. So that's one of the main reasons I don't like it. Number two, that kind of relates to that, is he's not Tim Duncan. And I know Tim Duncan was like this, very mild-mannered, and so people say, well, he was a star and it worked. Yes, but he weighed a lot more than Victor Wembanyama. Tim Duncan was probably 250, and there's videos you can find on YouTube of DeMarcus Cousins trying to bully Tim Duncan, and it doesn't work out because he is so strong and gifted and uses his balance really well. And he's just bigger than Wemby. You know, Wemby's only 215, 220. At 7'4", I mean, people are going to try to bully him and move him, and because that's the only chance they have. So, you know, you can't be Tim Duncan. Also, Tim Duncan played power forward a lot in his career. Now, at the end of his career, Duncan was definitely a center, but Wemby is going to be a center. In the new NBA, you cannot play a center and Wemby at the 4. I just do not see that happening. So, I don't know. Wemby's got to get stronger, as everyone says, but he's also got to get a little bit of a fire underneath him. Like, the Zen-like thing is not really going to work out playing center, because if you look at the Western Conference centers, you got Hartenstein and Zubac and obviously Jokic and Rudy Gobert, and these are massive, massive guys who... they're not just going to say, oh, Victor's so skilled, let's let him do whatever he wants. No, they're going to bang into him. They're going to try to bury him. That's kind of how the game works. So I think that's working against him a little bit. Also, maybe I'm way off on this point, but he's French, which I think plays against this whole, like, we should be passive and whatever. You know, I think... the way of American basketball is kind of, to bully people, to take what they have. That's a big part of the game. That's why strength is so important, and obviously athleticism he has and length he has. You know, he has all the tools, but people are going to try to make it a knife fight against Victor and try and, you know, sit on his legs, sit on his knees, make him work for everything, and... I think the fact that he's French plays into it too. Obviously with Gobert, you see this, you know, he gets labeled soft, and Gobert is 250 and shredded. I mean, Wembanyama has got to put on some weight before he could think about the mindfulness training. Although, you know, I don't want to criticize it too much because this is good for his life and his mental health, and that's a big part of basketball as well. But I don't know, I just think there are a few things here that's got me saying, ooh, he might get called out next year. I mean, here's one of my predictions. Perkins will call him out. Perk on ESPN will call him out at some point and say he's got to get tougher, he's got to get bigger, he's got to get stronger, because he's going to play center. He's not going to be Tim Duncan. He doesn't have the weight to be Tim Duncan right now, or the strength. He doesn't really play in the post that well, you know. I mean, he does play in the post. He gets rebounds and dunks and lobs. But back to the basket, when someone can have a forearm in you, I think he's going to struggle a little bit. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Am I reading too much into this? Wembanyama, Zenbanyama, in China, training as a monk. You know, is this a good thing for the Spurs, or do you kind of think like me, this